Now this is just a short video on what do we need to do to make a better century. Now I've talked in the why do we need to make a better century, about the fact that we're in a climate and ecological crisis. This is about what do we actually need to do. So there's three parts of what we need to do. First of all, we need to drastically reduce the amount of carbon which we emit into the atmosphere and all of the greenhouse gases which we emit. Second of all, we need to restore biodiversity across our world because that brings us natural resilience to even small climatic heating effects, which we're definitely going to see in this next 10 or 20 years. And the third thing is we need to drastically reduce the amount of waste to which we produce. So the first things first, in order to drastically reduce our carbon emissions, we need to heat our homes differently, and we need to make sure that our homes are really energy efficient, so we're not losing any heat out of them. You know, the way in which we heat our homes in the UK is that we heat our homes through usually natural gas. Now, you know, for starters, that needs to change. That's the massive source of power which we use within our lives at the moment. It makes up for around 1.5 tons of CO2. We have to get to 2.5 tons each by 2030. You know, by 2040, we need to be at carbon neutrality. That means we need to be thinking about our homes right away. You know, in the next, when you've got to replace your gas boiler, you really need to think about a different system. You need to think about a ground source heat pump, an air source heat pump. These are really viable alternatives. They're a bit more expensive, but they last longer and they give you great payback periods. So we've got to think about doing that. We've got to power our lives differently through renewable energy. So one of the things which we have to do is go about using the massive amount of resource which is around us to provide us the energy we need in our day-to-day lives. And that's quite straightforward. We can put solar panels on a roof. We can create some solar fields. We can use offshore wind turbines. We can use onshore wind. We can use wave and tidal energy. All of these forms of energy have been proven to be very, very effective. I mean, solar is actually the cheapest form of energy which we can actually use, and it's remarkable that these things haven't already exploded. But you know, these things have only come to the market quite recently. You know, we need to use different ways in which we travel. We need to think about the ways in which we travel. We need to use man-powered travel where we possibly can. We need to reduce our travel where we possibly can. We need to go about using electric modes of transport and look to replace our cars. I mean, again, that's around 2 tons of carbon per year. People need to move their use of travel to something different. And that means go about buying an electric car or using trains more. You can simply make reductions in your day-to-day life. But this is a planned activity which you need to think about. This is not something you need to do tomorrow. I'm not saying you need to do it tomorrow, but I'm saying you need to think about it and you need to embed it in your day-to-day culture. We need to restore biodiversity, and that means a commitment to restoring habitats. That means we need to go about bedding lots of carbon into lots of different habitats, and we need to reduce the impact of agricultural practices. And that means that we need to think about where we're getting our food from. We need to use our food better. We know that more land is taken up from animals than it is in terms of calorific value than it is from growing other types of vegetables, and we need to do more in our towns and cities to improve the biodiversity in those areas. It'll bring us resilience to the long run, and if you grow things like trees, it'll shield us from the small island heating effect. You know, we need to reduce our waste, and that means we need to get rid of the throwaway culture. We need to find ways of reusing material, and we need to share resources with one another. So if you've got a lawnmower you use once every 2 weeks, well, perhaps you could share that with your neighbour. This is about improving the use of resources. And actually, if we did all these things, we would improve use of resources, and that means we would actually spend less, which means that we would live a better quality of life because we'd have more time for our family and more time for building communities. And these things are fantastic because they do actually result in us making a better century. So why not today come onto our site, come and have a look at the ways in which you can help make a better century and learn through our kind of 5 key categories: homes, living, money, transport and places, and come and get involved. Come and learn about what you can do today. Share this video with other people, get other people involved in this massive movement to make a better century, and come and get involved. So thank you very much, and yeah, look forward to seeing you on the site.